So for those of you who are just sticking around to see how the Black Watch are doing, I'm up to this. I've managed to get a couple of the figures with their arms on. I've got my colour bearers, which are slowly being done, and the two musicians, my piper and my drummer, I'm working on. And then I've got the heads, which will be added on at a later date. Working on a checkerboard. Don't know if I could say that. There we go. Checkerboard is sort of getting there. I've just got to do the vertical stripes. And so we'll continue on with today's video, which is showing off some of my Cold War stuff. Well, pretty much all of my Cold War stuff, because I don't have... Was tempted to do sort of big platoons and companies and maybe get really big into it, but then I thought I just wanted to take Op Squad and rejig it so that I could do small little firefights and scenarios and things like that. So I did. And here is the forces. So I have both NATO and WARPAC, because of course I do. And I managed to expand it out to include at least a couple of the main belligerents. So, starting with my Bundeswehr, sort of 80s, 70s, 80s Bundeswehr in green fatigues. They have an MG3, Fausts, Charlie G. Ignore the little green badge on the side, a Marder. These figures are all from somewhere. I'm still trying to remember where it is and I can't find the link. I will probably, hopefully if I can find it, I will link it in. The Marder itself is from Dignostina. Then we have the Americans. I have a Bradley and one of my two M113s that I got in a pack. Again, I kind of forget where the M113 came from, as the Bradley's a Dignostina model. The infantry figures are all, I think I did them all up as Big Red 1. If you can see that on there, they have got their shoulder patches with Big Red 1 on it. Infantry, and this is a rifle section, motor rifle section. I'm not sure how the Americans refer to their armoured infantry. These are Airfix. Yes, these are from the Airfix figures stand, so I'm not sure. They might have been, by the time I got my hands on them, it might have been Revell. Next up is my personal favourite, that thing, not necessarily the British Army specifically, but the 432, which is from Grubby's Miniatures, Britannia Miniatures. And the infantry, I got them from Britannia Miniatures at Crisis many years ago, fully painted up, so this is not my painting job. So yeah, the Americans have got a Dragon anti-tank, 2 machine guns, 2 M16s with 203s, and the remainder armed with M16s. Alright, anyway, so the British armed with the SLR, a Charlie G, the corporal section leader in the back with a little comms pack and a SMG, and the ubiquitous GPMG, 432 in the background. Why is it my favorite? Why is it one of my favorites? Because that guy there, and then later on that guy there, I was both of them at one point. And then moving across to the other glamorous and footsore variant of the British is the paratroopers. These, I believe, are also Revell or Airfix figures. I'm not sure. Again, I acquired them very randomly. SLR armed, SMGs for the section leader, and the GPMG. The other half of my pack I got with 2 M113s, so I did this one up as an ambulance variant. Could have done it as a German for the Jaegers, but I didn't really think about that. I just went, oh, an ambulance. And then the Dignostina tanks, so I've got a Chieftain and a Challenger 1, depending on what sort of time frame I want to be doing this. And no, the Winky Pot on the back of the Challenger 1 does not work, because that would be authentic it would be inauthentic if it worked. M60A3, I do believe, and the M1A1 or 2, but in its more deserts colours. Again, it's what Dignostina did. And then a Leopard 1 in Italian colours. It's not, it's German, just ignore the Italian flag all over it. Let's see, so yeah, that's the NATO forces. So on to the Reds. And starting off with the NVA. I believe these again are part of the Revell figures. They're not specific NVA figures, they are generic WARPAC, I think it was. Except for him, he's from something else. I basically painted them up more in the, I suppose you want to call it the the Field Grau style of uniform. Again, the AKs aren't AKs, there's something else for the MVA, but it's an AK. And they do have a PKM in this section, RPG, and he is the RPK gunner. He is a Russian infantryman, but taken from another pack, and just painted up to look like the rest. The BTR, marked up as NVA, so it's got its DDR markings on the side. I'm off the top of my head, I cannot remember where I got it from. I only have one of them, and it's plastic, not resin or anything like that. Quite a solid little model though. I'm stood here now looking at it and going, where did I get you? I think I got you from Crisis, because I got the M113s from Crisis, along with the British infantry. Where did I get you from? Because I've only got one of you. I honestly have no idea. So, moving on to the, is it Soviet Army, Red Army? I can't remember at what point they were slightly close. Again, more Revell infantry figures. I rejigged a couple of the AK-47s to be more like an RPK, so giving them a bipod. So he's got his bipod folded up, and he's got one leg of his bipod is folded up. I don't know what happened to the other leg. There, this will do a little bit of brass tubing. Just a paint job up. So again, these guys are more of the Soviet field uniform, red tabs and everything like that. The BMP in the background is also Grubby miniatures, same place as I got the FV432. And then moving across, we have recoilless rifle. This, along with a few other weapons, came from a pack which, off the top of my head, I found randomly in the local model railway shop, which also does a fair few bits of pieces from various other different manufacturers across literally across the world. He's got all sorts of stuff, lots of Airfix models, of course. But he had a few packs of these. He had a pack of heavy weapons and command teams, which I think was a Russian company that made it. I could be wrong. It's a very, I must be honest, it's very nice made. It's sort of hard plastic, good bit of detail on the figures. They are very nice. And I'll just show you the others. I'll skip them for a second and come up, and then I have in that pack I've got recoilless rifle. I have my anti-tank weapon. I'm trying to remember off the top of my head which one this is, and I can't. But it's a anti-tank guided weapon, so it's a missile launcher. And then I have my 50 cal DK, yeah, the big one. Dushka. There we go. That's it. I remember Dushka on a tripod with a loader and spotter, and then a sort of command team with a spotting scope, radio man, and an officer. So figures wise, we'll just finish off these guys. So then we have more Revell. Yeah, these are definitely Revell. So VDV, and yes, I don't know if you can see them, but I have tried to do the figures all with their blue and white bulletproof t-shirts, because they're VDV, of course. They don't wear body armour, they don't need it, they're too hard for that. That's why they don't wear helmets either, they have their big blue hats. RPG, I have actually got a proper RPK gunner, I think, amongst this lot. I didn't have to convert one. He says that, and then he stood there looking at it, going, I can't spot him. RPG gunner, RPG, no, it's this guy here. I think he's the RPK gunner. I think I've only got one of them. I think I might have had to convert another one. Or I just pretend that another one is. I'll stop there. Yeah, they're all kitted out correctly. And then moving on to the background, I have T72 and T80, both from Dignostina, both with guards markings. Then another one, which is, this is BRDM2 with guards markings. This was another one that I got from the model shop in town, which, again, I think it was a Russian company. This is a resin kit. Came with the two turrets, so that is a anti-air launcher that you can mount on top of it. I did try to take it out, but then I remembered, oh yeah, the hole's a bit small. I needed to drill it out a bit wider, and then I never bothered. I'm more than likely going to end up using it. If I turn it into an anti-air launcher, it's going to become a target, rather than a BDM it's an armoured car. It's going to be a fighting vehicle. Nice little kit to go. Simplistic. I will say simplistic sort of kit. but does the job quite nicely. I believe this one definitely was a Russian company. It was very simplistic on the instructions. Much like these guys and this thing, I actually had to double check how the equipment goes together, which way round certain things go, and so on and so forth. So I had to go look at pictures on the internet or my books, which is why we have libraries and the internet. Whereas with this thing, it was a relatively simple put together kit, nicely detailed. It's not super detailed. I would say it is not super detailed, but there's enough there to make yourself comfortable. And the fact that you get the anti-air variant as well is quite nice. And that is everything, I believe. So yeah, I've got a small group of WARPAC forces, depending on how I want to do my scenarios. I did do a battle where we ran the T-72 versus the Chieftain. I'm trying to remember if that was when I was taking photos in those days. We didn't do videos, and this was the Chieftain was commanded by my friend Kev, who is an ex-tanky himself, or cavalry, because it was Huzzah. And the tank was commanded by Dave, and we used the up squad rules to run the fight because I just wanted to see what happened, and I genuinely thought it was going to be bang, explosion, game over, okay cool, switch round and have another go. About an hour and a half, 2 hours later, we finally got a resolution because both of them basically gave up and had enough because they just couldn't really hurt each other enough. And the sort of short move, fire, miss, short move, fire, miss, short move, couldn't spot, short move, fire, miss was basically how it ended up going. But that was the kind of the fun of the game. We've used these a couple of times. I think I did a video where I ran my Bundeswehr versus the NVA with a couple of overseers from the Soviet Army, from the local Red Army unit, where I gave both the German units the rule that basically when they took their first casualty, everyone has to take a morale check because they're green troops. And unfortunately, because of casualties being inflicted on both sides failed enough of their morale tests that the squads basically disintegrated and fled the battlefield, leaving 3 of these guys standing there looking around going, I guess we're done, come back. Game was kind of entertaining. Lots of cover, as thing with Op Squad games, I find I really should play them more often. Small, neat, relatively quickly paced. Again, anything's relatively quick if you actually understand the rules to it. Nice little nuances in the rule. For example, if you move really fast, you're harder to hit. If you move really quietly and carefully, you have to be spotted to be shot at. And if you just walk up and open fire, you're probably going to get cut down. Terrain is also very, very important. Cover, very important. Fire and manoeuvre, very important. I remember playing a World War II one where I was myself versus my mate Dean, hello, if you're watching this one. That was the one where it was my Americans versus your Germans. Well, all of my Germans. He was playing as he played as a German Granny squad. I ran a American rifle, sort of GI squad. And he suddenly found me forming a baseline and opening up on him and then fire and manoeuvring towards him. And he went, this looks like real tactics. And I went, I'm trying. The game kind of rewards you if you do it properly. And he went, oh, crud. Though hilariously, I remember playing a big-ish game of this where one of the specialty variants of the British Army list is a reconnaissance team, which gives you 3 personnel carriers, the Brengan carriers, the universal carriers, with 2 or 3 men in each one. Driver remains in, 2 men dismount, so you end up with 6 dismounts in total. And you can kit them out with automatic weapons and a Bren gun. And a Fallschirm, and Gaz Day, he was running his Fallschirmjäger squad. FG-42s, MG-42s, all those sort of shiny things. He was attempting to cross the river, going up against about 4 Bren guns and a couple of SMGs, Sten guns, and he complained, I have never heard this before in my life, and I will probably never hear it again, but a German player complained about the amount of automatic weapons that were in front that he was having to face off against, and he considered it unfair. The German player complaining about the British player having too many automatic weapons, which meant that he couldn't push across the little ford and go over the river. He was not a happy man. He got very annoyed. And I think he was just more the fact that it's a case of, this isn't fair. I'm the one who's supposed to have fire superiority within 30 seconds of turning up. But hey, that's how the games go. Op Squad. Plus, really good game. I used my own amendments for this. I sat down and wrote stuff up and rejigged rules and things like that and added a few bits in. Worked out what the G3 would count as and the AK-47s and M16s would count as, the SLRs and so on and so forth. And I think I'll call it there. That's 15 minutes. Hopefully not too much editing, and I'll stop rambling and leave you guys to it. And we'll see you in the next one. Hopefully I'll have gotten the second Warhammer Fantasy Battles report done by then.